Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Deep Threats Podcast Live, and I am Squeaky, and I have to adjust my camera. This is going to bother me. Give me a second, guys. As always, you have me here, and then you have Wheels.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and yes, there is only two. Welcome back. We kind of took, a 10-day hiatus there, KJ, or 2-week hiatus? I don't know how to label that. Took somewhat of a hiatus, but we're happy to be back, better than ever. Re-energized and, ready to bring you the best news and statistics.
When were we supposed to come back? We were supposed to come back, July 4th or something like that?
Yeah.
All right, so we're back. It's July 12th. Hey, everybody, we're back. And I shaved today, because I'll tell you right now, I look like Ben Roethlisberger coming up to playoffs. No, I don't. I can't grow hair that much. Not even close. So, but on the docket for today, since I had to wet my mouth, on the docket for today,
news.
Top 5 quarterbacks, top 5 tight ends for fantasy production. Yours and my rankings.
Yes.
We have. It's kind of going to be a news day just because of all the BS that's going on right now.
Since we haven't been on for about 2 shows, there's been a lot of news. I mean, I know you guys have heard a lot of it, but there's a lot of stuff that we want to go over on the show just to discuss because we haven't really talked.
I don't know about a lot of it because like 3 things broke a couple hours ago.
Yeah, just before the show has started.
So we got some stuff. So let's jump into the first thing, and I talked about this on our Discord. If you follow us on our Discord, as always, Rodgers finds himself in the middle of the news.
Yeah, and so you brought this up to me. I didn't really know this. It's voluntary. You can't bow out of it.
Involuntary.
It's involuntary. Sorry, it's involuntary. So I never knew that. I thought you could always say no, but that's not the.
You can
situation.
say no. It's like rape. They just don't have a choice. He's looking for us. They just don't have a choice. So, that being said, Aaron Rodgers finds himself in the center of the media, like always. And on top of that, this is going to be a little bit of a double toil and trouble for the New York Jets, who didn't have much news coverage, and now it's going to be non-stop news coverage.
And this is nothing against Rodgers. Rodgers doesn't like the media to a sense. I think it's because the media has kind of, blackballed him a little bit, and including I haven't really done my research about some of the things I said, but I kind of understand he's kept to himself. He likes being in the media when he's, represented rightfully. So I'm hoping that this is going to happen, but it's Hard Knocks, and we've seen it as Browns fans. I mean, there's been a lot of stuff, but I don't think it's a bad situation for the Jets. I think, they're just going to show people up. Hey, you know what? You want to put us on camera? We're going to show you what we're made of.
Man, all I'm thinking of is Garrett Wilson.
I know.
Breece Hall.
Sauce Gardner.
Michael Carter. Sauce Gardner. These guys that finally get their time to shine, and they are going to show their work ethic.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And some of these guys are really good guys.
Yeah.
So, and Aaron Rodgers, I think it's funny because now the media gets to see all of Aaron Rodgers and how much prep he puts in, not just his Thursdays or whatever day it was with
the Packers,
with Pat McAfee and all that stuff. Yeah. Like he did his Thursday show. I can't remember what show he did.
Yeah.
Like that's all the media saw anymore of Aaron Rodgers. They didn't see anything else but that.
No.
So it kind of got real quick.
Yeah.
But that being said, we'll jump into our second thing for news today. This one we've kind of talked about a little bit. It has to deal with the Giants and Saquon Barkley. So this is Dov Kleiman's tweet, and what he said was, I don't know if it's just him. I think there's a bunch of people.
Yeah.
I think actually this might have been a retweet.
There's been a few.
Too. That Saquon Barkley is going to possibly sit out on the if they franchise tag him.
Yeah.
That is kind of what it's looking like right now. So, and then on top of that, what was the deadline?
The 17th. So next Monday, the 17th.
At 4 p.m.
At 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
At EST.
So it's clicking away. Personally, I think this is a very dumb move for Saquon Barkley, just because they offered him a contract in the offseason. We talked about that. he didn't like it. Him and his camp, they came out publicly and said, they offered his contract. We just don't think it's fair compensation. But I'm going to reiterate this. You matter when you're on the field. And that's what the team, and I think that's what everybody's doing. I mean, with anybody. I mean, especially with running backs. We've seen the guys that have been drafted.
I think he's pretty good on the field when he's on the field.
Like we said, he's a top 5 running back when he's healthy on the field, 100%. And there's no doubt in my mind, I think he's top 5 when healthy.
Top 5.
When healthy.
Top 5? I actually think you had him on your top 5. I just took him out because I think you moved him up to 4 when we were talking about it.
Yeah, I did. You're right. Because Bo kept changing my mind.
But that being said, so you got mine, right? That's a little bit of everybody.
And
then you have
you have 7.
Anyways, and then you have yours. What does this do for your rankings for Saquon if he doesn't sign the franchise tag?
Well, we have another guy who's up there too who may not sign it. When Josh Jacobs, who I have at 3. So,
I agree. I agree.
Obviously, I
have Josh Jacobs at 4.
So I think Saquon. Call me crazy. I think Saquon is worth 3 wins easily on that team.
Wow, he's a +-3.
For me, he's a +-3 because we.
You know what? We can actually check that. What was their record last year, and then what was their record the year he was out? Because we can actually check that.
So,
oh God, what did I do?
You looked that up. You actually brought this to my attention prior to the show. Is the rankings for running backs are rushing touchdowns, and Saquon isn't on the list that you looked at. What was that list again?
I don't know. I broke my.
You broke your mouse pad.
There it is. Okay, go ahead. What were you saying?
So that list that you brought up to me, I can't remember where you said you pulled that from. Where he wasn't.
That was from Dove Kleiman.
Yeah,
it was the running backs rankings list for touchdowns of current active players.
Yeah, for rushing touchdowns.
And he did not have 33 or more.
Which shows that
rushing
he is
touchdowns. But he does receive the ball.
That's where I'm saying, he's not.
Yeah, it's kind of a tit for tat. I kind of want to know what his total touchdowns are because Josh Jacobs has 40 touchdowns, but he also has 40 rushing touchdowns. So it's like Josh Jacobs only rushes touchdowns. He doesn't receive them.
And it's nothing against Saquon Barkley at all.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's kind of crazy to say it that way. But what else did you have on Saquon?
He has 29 total rushing touchdowns. And
so he just missed the list, the top 15.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that kind of makes sense a little bit.
So it's... What was I talking about? I'm sorry.
What year was Saquon injured?
Hold on, give me 1 second.
Because that would be the question. So last year they were 9-7-1.
2020.
And then 4-13 the year before that, and then 6-10, and then 4-12. I don't know, man.
So 2020 was really his only year that he missed more than 3 games.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that the team as a whole needs to do better.
I mean, he's Daniel Jones' safety valve. He's his tight end.
But I will say with Dable there, that 9-7-1 was the record, and that is best improved since
that he joined.
Yeah, and I that's not Saquon's greatest year.
Yeah. But no,
Saquon had a great year, but it's not his greatest year.
I think Daniel Jones took a huge step forward, and the prior quarterback that Brian Dable took a big step back. And I said that with Brian Dable joining the Giants, which, I mean, I think that Daniel Jones' worst days are behind him, and he's going to improve. And, he did sign a pretty crazy contract, and I think that's maybe why Saquon wants to get paid what he wants. He sees, he hasn't been a top guy for your team, but I've produced all except maybe 1 or 2 years where I've been injured. So, I mean, do you think there's some locker room animosity, I would have to say, or do you think he just wants to get paid?
I think he wants a paycheck. The Saquon thing right now reminds me of the Le'Veon Bell thing. There's no animosity that you've seen with Le'Veon Bell with the Steelers. It's just they wouldn't pay him. And everybody that's ever come out about the Steelers, the front office, and what they do to their players, they have zero negative things to say. And that sucks as a Browns fan. But I mean, because we can't keep a front office. No.
I'm under the firm belief that you don't pay running backs. I mean, I
think the league is under the firm belief that you don't pay running backs, and I think that's part of the issue right now is that you do have 2 top 10 running backs they're not arguable. Like 2 top 10s, Saquon and Josh Jacobs. Maybe in your top 5, arguable, but 2 top 10 running backs that are possibly going to sit out, and they're 26 years old. I think Jacobs is 25. I could be wrong.
I think
but
he may
they're
be
26 going 27, and this is their contract year. And when they look at them, they're like, contract year. Good luck.
I mean, look at the situation. So perfect situation to compare. Look at the situation that Dallas was in with Zeke. They cut him before his contract even expired, and he has yet to find another team.
They cut him on the out year, but Zeke's only 28, so like I think Zeke's going to get a team. It's just a matter of where and when.
So let's say that he sits out. Let's say they sign Zeke. You don't think Zeke would fill that role?
Well, I think that's the argument, right? Like, do you have the leverage to sit out with what's out there? Because you still have Zeke, you have Kareem Hunt, and you have there's somebody else out there. I can't remember, but anyways, that being said, out of all of that, I think here, let me argue this from the other perspective, because I think what's going on here is Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs are in a contract year, right?
Dalvin Cook.
Obviously. Thank you, Dalvin Cook. Obviously, they're in a contract year.
Yes.
Now, what does this say for those teams of up-and-coming running backs who are going to play 3 years and then look for their contract at 25, 26? Are these guys now setting the precedent together? To go, hey, give us our contracts. We're just like everybody else, and we do a lot more than everybody else. And I can't even argue that. They do so much more. The problem is their shelf life isn't long.
Yeah.
And it sucks being a commodity, man. When you're being purchased for a year or two, you are a commodity, and you go out there, you put a product on the field, and they don't care if you get injured personally. They really don't care.
Yeah,
it is a business. You're out there to do a job.
That's a really tough situation. And, other than the center position, I think the running back position is the most just run into the ground. And you have very few guys to show. You have Derrick Henry, who's going to be 29?
No, Derrick Henry's 30, going
30,
on 31.
31. The one time I don't say he's old, right?
Yeah, but Derrick Henry is a different person.
But that's what I'm saying. How many of these guys have you seen that are, in their 30s that are still producing? There's not many. Even back in the day, there wasn't.
Latavius Murray, I think, is 30.
Is he?
But again, these aren't guys. These aren't workhorses. These aren't workhorses. So like Adrian Peterson.
There's always going to be. It's going to be the next man up mentality.
I think Melvin Gordon might have been in his 30s when he started. No, I think he was like 28. I don't know. There's not a lot. It's a different era.
No, it's no different from a highly sought after job. There's always going to be somebody else there to take your place, given he may not be as good. But you better watch what you choose, because Le'Veon Bell, like we said, is a perfect representation for what can happen. You can fall on your face.
I also wonder if there is another time and place, the way they mold these contracts for running backs, maybe
mid-season?
I'm talking coming into the league.
Oh, okay.
So if you come into the league, maybe running backs get one less year on a contract length. So if you're drafted in the first round, instead of getting a 5th year option, it's 3 and a 4th year option.
Okay.
And then what happens is now more money, less years.
Up front.
What happens is you get your contract at a younger age. So, maybe there's something they need to do for those positions adjust it with the CBAs.
I wouldn't be against that, honestly. I wouldn't, because but even with Saquon, this last year...
This should be Saquon's contract. It's Saquon's contract year. He's very young.
Yeah,
he's got 3 to 5 in him still.
What do you think he's worth yearly? Let's put the
I can't say yearly, because let's be honest. As a running back ages, his value decreases. So I'll say right now, 26, 27, and 28, you are in your prime.
Yeah, so let's do a 4-year contract.
I would have to say, I'd say a 3-year contract. I'd say he's probably worth what Nick Chubb was worth, if not a little bit more, because of his usage. And I would have to say he's probably somewhere around $40 million over 4 years. And now, that's only $13 million a year. The franchise tag is 10.
Yeah.
So I just don't understand. I am fairly certain, we talked about this in the offseason, he was offered somewhere around 14.
Mm-hmm.
So you obviously want your Zeke Elliott, Dalvin Cook, which, by the way, those 2 contracts are gone now. They're null and void.
Yep.
The only other person that's gotten a contract at that level would be Alvin Kamara and Christian McCaffrey. And Christian McCaffrey's his own...
There's a dog, the bone.
Oh, my God. My dog got a brand new nylon bone.
You have Austin Eckler, who
He hasn't gotten a contract.
Yeah, he most likely will be a free agent.
And he's 28, though. He came in the league, I think, at like 24, 25 years old. And so that's a little different.
Colorado State, sixth or fifth round pick.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things where I think he's worth $14 million a year. I think part of the issue, as with everything with running backs, he's already had, he only played 2 full seasons. Technically, last year wasn't a full season, but I think they sat him in game 17.
Yes.
They only played 2 full seasons. He's only played 2 full seasons, and then 2 seasons he got injured, and then 1 season he only played 2 games. He got injured in game 3. Now, that being said, I have Nick Chubb on my team. Nick Chubb never plays a full season.
Other than his,
I think he played 1 full year.
His second year.
So I even think last year he missed 2-3 games.
Yeah.
Now, running backs miss games. I am completely okay with that. Season for me for a running back is 14 to 15 games.
Yes.
If you can sustain 14 to 15 games in this season, I'm willing to pay you $1 million a game. Essentially, is what it breaks down to.
Yeah. And why do you think?
Especially at this tier.
That's a perfect, segue into this. Why do you think so many teams are going to a running back by committee? Because they know that you don't want to beat up on one guy.
I agree.
And you have, so let's
completely agree.
Let's use Cleveland just real quick. You got Nick Chubb, you have Jerome Ford, you have who do we take who do we take this year? That was a running back.
We didn't take a running back this year.
No, not this year. The kid from UCLA last year.
Jerome Ford. Oh,
no, that was Cincinnati.
Yeah. Sorry.
So just real quick. We had Duke Johnson. He left. And then you had. There's always been guys. They're not as good. They're not top tier. But like we said, there's always going to be a guy to take their place. Even if you need them for 1, 2, 3 games. They're going to produce for you. They're not going to be as good, but they're a good Band-Aid for when you need them. You rely on the pass a little bit more. What you do is you just prep for that, how you're going to run it without that player. And don't think that these guys, oh man, he's injured, they got to write a whole new game plan. They have these game plans put in during.
Are you thinking Demetric Felton?
Yeah, Demetric Felton.
Okay.
Yeah, prior to the season. All these teams prep for any type of injury that can happen. Wide receiver, tight end, offensive line, quarterback, running back. They're prepped. They just don't, they aren't caught with their pants down per se.
All right. Well, I think that's kind of all we got on Saquon.
And I would say that's the same thing for Josh Jacobs. He also has till the 17th to sign. I personally would give Josh Jacobs. I would be more enticed to give Josh Jacobs a deal instead of Saquon Barkley, just because how consistently good he has been.
Well, and he's not as injury prone.
Yeah, and he's.
That would be your argument. He's not as injury prone.
I know. So Steve has always said that he was beat up in college. I understand that, but
there's a lot of running backs here beat up in college, and there's a lot of running backs that get beat up in college and still play 10 years.
Yeah.
So I don't like that excuse.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I want to see what you do in.
It's all about how you take care of yourself. To be honest with, there's a guy like Derrick Henry who, to be honest, is an anomaly because at his size, injury should be there, especially coming up to his age.
Yes.
And he still played all season last season. So, granted, the team wasn't good. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah,
but
that wasn't him. So
yeah.
I would say those two are. 2 and 2. We can just go.
Let's get into the other conversation. So
running back.
one quick one, and we hate beating on this conversation. We're going to talk about D-Hop real quick. This just came up in the news today about D-Hop.
Possibly to
the Bills are willing to sign him if he's willing to chase a Super Bowl, which means they're willing to sign him on a essentially incentive contract where if you do certain things, we'll pay you more money, but you're not going to get a guaranteed up front because we can't afford it because we are way over salary cap.
Yeah, and D-Hop said he is in no rush to sign. So I think, he is smart.
I think D-Hop's in the Odell Beckham situation where you don't even have to sign until after the beginning of the season. Yeah. You can wait 4 or 5 games, just stay healthy and be ready to go.
He can definitely go into a game week 1 and produce. There is no doubt in my mind.
Especially if he's chasing a ring. Especially if that's the concept of what he's doing is chase a ring.
Field. And I think Odell will this year. I just hope he stays healthy. But for the D-Hop situation,
and to be honest with you,
he built the.
I'd rather pay D-Hop $10 million for half a season. And try be that team that goes, hey, we are going to the playoffs. Yeah. I'll pay you $10 million to come in because I think the deadline's week 11.
Yes,
I will pay you $10 million to come in and we'll
When it
sign
matters
you.
most.
We're going. And that, on the back half of the season. So if I were D-Hop, I wouldn't be worried
I mean, the
about, like,
Patriots
someone's going to pay
the
you.
Patriots the Patriots have a lot of cap money left.
Yeah.
I mean, well, like a lot of enough to pay him. I shouldn't say a lot.
It's Patriots cap money. They don't pay anybody.
No,
so
no,
unless
they don't
you're
pay anybody unless
you're Gronkowski.
you're him. So
No, they didn't pay
just
Tom
for
Brady. Well, they did pay Tom Brady a little bit.
Yeah, but for the D-Hop situation, I would like him to be a Bill. I think he'd be a good, next to Stephon Diggs. And I think Stephon Diggs is getting frustrated because he wants to get back there. I mean, he was close. He was there not too long ago, and he knows what it feels like.
Do you think that'd be an issue, like when Stephon Diggs doesn't get the ball, D-Hop's on the other side?
No, I don't.
Give me the ball!
I don't think. I mean, Stephon Diggs. I don't want to say he was that guy. And,
He was that guy.
But with Kevin Stefanski's offense in Minnesota, it was more of a run-heavy offense, which is kind of weird because now with the Browns it goes pass-heavy. But let's not even get in that. But Stephon Diggs has always produced, so he's always been.
Heavy.
He's always been a big. He's always shown what he's made of, and with adding D-Hop, I don't think it'll take anything away.
You can't see me rolling my eyes. Pass heavy.
This season.
He's saying that,
Yeah.
but we'll see.
That's why I said we're not even going to get into it. So
right.
that's the situation with D-Hop.
D-Hop, so we'll jump into the next thing, and this one is definitely more pressing.
Yes.
Because this guy is not even in our top 10 of running backs for this reason
not at
alone. Alvin Kamara, this just came in probably about 50 minutes ago, is pleading guilty to a dropped charge to a misdemeanor where he's going to have to do community service and pay $100,000 to the victim for medical bills. Now, pleading guilty in a criminal court, because essentially what happens is the two lawyers said, hey, here's what's going to happen. You're going to take a guilty plea, but we're not going to do a felony. We're going to do a misdemeanor. Therefore, you don't have to do any jail time. Yes. Therefore, you're not held out of football.
Community service.
Yeah, and that's going to suck. But what does this mean for the DeAndre Hopkins situation? Because of that situation that just happened on the boat where he slapped the guy up the back of the head and assaulted him before he got on a boat, because that's poor conduct according to the NFL policy. Mm-hmm. And if D-Hop already has had a 6-game suspension for PEDs, now what does that mean? Because D-Hop already has a history of not listening to the rules. So I think D-Hop somewhere around the 2 to 4 game suspension, and that could be an issue if he doesn't find a team at the beginning of the season, because that means when he comes back, he's going to have to serve that 2 to 4 game suspension. So you might be
signing him earlier. He might take one of those deals that we were talking about.
Right. And then now Alvin Kamara, Deshaun Watson got what? 11 games.
11 games. I think he's.
And he wasn't convicted in a criminal court.
No, he wasn't convicted, and
he settled in civil court.
Yes.
So not guilty on any accounts.
Yep. And they had a arbitrator. Don't forget about that. A third party.
Well, that was the league arbitrator for his suspension. Yeah. So the question is, does Kamara play this year?
He plays.
Is question one.
But I think he plays.
And what is his minimum suspension in your mind?
I would have to go between 6 and 8 games.
I have to say minimum 6.
Yeah, I would have to say 6 to 8 games because you assaulted.
And that's after pleading it down. That's a minimum 6.
And so it's a 6 to 8 game suspension. You pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor, so you were charged in a criminal court, correct?
Yeah.
So you were charged. So the NFL is going to use that as ammunition. I mean, so it's a 6 to 8 game suspension. A lot of people are going to say, "Oh no."
And the original report was a no contest.
Yes.
Which I think no contest accepts the plea of guilty without being guilty.
Yeah, but he pled guilty.
But now the most recent thing came out, said he pled guilty to a misdemeanor. So he might have pled no contest to the original assault charges. They dropped the charges to a misdemeanor and he pled guilty.
Yeah.
That's probably what happened. So
I mean,
which, like I said, that's probably 6 games. Like according to league conduct policies, I think if you go back and look at the CBA, I think that's 6 games.
yeah, and so I mean, just real quick, if you have if you're doing fantasy, go pick up or trade for Jamal Williams fast, or get rid of him fast.
Yeah.
If you can get some value for the guy.
And Jamal Williams
Right
is a kind of guy where
He'll shine in that role.
He's going to shine even when Kamara comes back. So Kamara's always had a second running back that got touchdowns a lot of the time.
Ingram,
Latavius Murray. He's
Murray,
always had guys behind him where they've still produced.
Yeah.
So
it's like the Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison situation.
Yeah, I would say Jamal Williams. And Jamal Williams, based on his production last year, going to a new team with a great quarterback and a good offensive line and a solid defense, I think they're going to have to run the ball. Jamal Williams could go into my top 10 for running backs just because of this situation right here that's happening right now.
Call me crazy.
Crazy. You're crazy.
Let's say it's a 10-game suspension, and it's hell. Do you think they cut him?
No, because I think he doesn't have an out for until next year.
So I just don't know the
and
context.
essentially, a 10-game suspension gives you a free year out of him because he's not going to get. You're not going to pay him for all this time.
I forgot when
and actually,
you don't make that money.
I think this year might be his most expensive year.
It definitely could be, but yeah, going back to the Jamal Williams situation, that is a great situation to be in if you have him or if you've acquired him, or you may be able to get him, kind of under the wire by, some fans that aren't super heavy into the NFL news right now. So I would definitely go out to see what you can get for him, or, for the lesser amount. I have him on the team. I'm not getting rid of him because I also have Kamara on that team, so he is my handcuff.
Right here, 2024 is the potential out.
Next
2024, dead cap $16 million. So this is his actual largest year outside of last year. He's owed $24 million this year. They'll save a whole bunch of money if he gets suspended this year.
So sadly, best situation for the Saints is, let's say he's suspended 10 games. They have Jamal Williams, who plays great in those 10 games, and he comes back and doesn't make much, and they're in a good situation. I mean, I hate to say it, but
every game he sits out, it's $1.5 million that he will lose.
So you're essentially looking at
if it's
$15 million.
Let's just say it's 6 games,
it's $15 million.
You're looking at almost $9 million, $8.75 million.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a situation to be.
Wow. He's going to lose $10 million.
Yeah.
Plus $100,000.
And guess what? You made an adult decision.
Plus $100,000.
You got to deal with the adult,
I think for every dollar he loses in contract money, that's what the guy should get.
They should.
You suspended for 6 games, your entire salary goes to that guy.
Yeah. That or what they. Let's talk this quick little.
I really think
I love that idea, but let's do donations to companies.
Like what? I don't know. That doesn't make sense.
Let's just do like a random, I don't know. You have certain situation, like a certain obviously every team has a donation that they give to a certain company every year.
You're saying like
that money
charity.
You're
going to like charities.
Yeah, that money goes to a charity.
It should go to his charity for all of his medical bills.
Yeah, it should.
Beat the hell out of the dude.
The dude was in the hospital for 12 days.
That's ridiculous, man.
He's going to get paid. There's no doubt about that. So, technically, he's probably going to lose closer to $15 million.
Kamara was just mad because he looked better than him. I have no idea.
That's just.
Let's jump into one other thing, which I have one thing for the Saquon Barkley conversation.
Okay.
Me and you brought this up a little earlier. I saw this tweet. This one's for you guys out there. Here's why Jonathan Taylor is in my top 5 for running backs, and is also in your top 5 for running backs.
And I never knew this until you brought this up to me prior
most
to the show
rushing yards per attempt with a minimum of 750 attempts over their first 3 years of their career. Jonathan Taylor is 5.1. He is number 1 with a minimum of 750 attempts. So when he's on the field, he will produce, and he will continue to produce this year. If you are a Jonathan Taylor owner, do not trade him.
Under any means.
If you are selling Jonathan Taylor,
get a boatload.
You're an idiot.
So you just want to...
Unless you're out of it, get a boatload. Then I'm okay with it. And then I'll jump into one other thing, which will kick us off for our rankings, and we will jump into JJ, his rankings. Justin Jefferson thinks his actual quarterback rankings, right? Actual, not fantasy. His best quarterbacks that are currently playing are Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen. I'm not opposed to that.
No, because
Aaron Rodgers consistency.
Yeah,
right.
So I like that list.
I like Joe Burrow just because it's Joe Burrow, and
Jalen Hurts is a little surprise to me because he only had one good year.
Yeah, but it's accuracy, and they gave him receivers.
Yeah.
So like, I think Jalen Hurts' accuracy was like 69%.
Yeah.
Or 60. No, that was Geno Smith's. I think Jalen's was like 65 or 66.
Okay.
But yes, it was his best year, and they were out on him prior to last year. So what does that mean? I don't know. But when you're looking at a quarterback that just went to the Super Bowl and has the potential, now granted, it's a Monstars team. Literally, every guy on their front end is 6+.
There's only one guy on that list who hasn't been to a Super Bowl, right?
Joe Burrow.
No, Josh Allen.
Joe Burrow. Oh, Joe Burrow did go to.
There's only Joe Burrow played against the.
No.
Yeah, the Rams, bud.
He did lose to the Rams. That's right.
Josh Allen's the only quarterback on that list not to be in the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's crazy. I didn't even think about that.
And people are gonna say, "Oh, he didn't put Kirk Cousins."
That's the note on the tweet.
I love Kirk Cousins. He's a top 10. He's definitely not a top 5 quarterback.
That was the
chance.
note on the tweet.
Not a chance.
Yeah, he's.
How
I don't
much I
even
love
know if
Kirk.
he's top 10. I mean, I think he's fringe top 10.
Yeah, but
I think he's like 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there. And a lot of people would put Lamar over Kirk Cousins, and I think that's crazy.
I mean, call me crazy, but I'm gonna put Jared Goff. I'd put Jared Goff this season over.
Oh
Kirk.
my God, it's so hard to like Jared Goff because he's had like 3 good years out of his 12-year career.
He has it. He got drafted in 2016.
He's been in the league as long as Baker. No,
Baker was
2 years longer than Baker. He was a number 1 overall. That guy's a flop.
Who?
Although he's been to a Super Bowl, hasn't he?
Who? Goff is not a flop. Baker's more of a flop.
Number 1 overall pick.
So was Baker. Or no, Baker was what? Baker
was number 1.
Yeah,
Baker was definitely a flop. Baker was definitely
a flop.
That being said,
on.
we'll jump into Wheels' quarterback rankings right off the rip. What do we got, Wheels? And give me your reasoning why, because this is fantasy based. So, give me your reasonings why.
Pat Mahomes, because he's Pat Mahomes. All right.
I'm okay with that.
Josh
that's
Allen,
literally the only quarterback you can give me that excuse.
Josh Allen. So I'm a Bills fan, so I might be a little, biased. But
100% biased.
If you look at his fantasy stats every single season except for his first year, he has been a top 3 or 4 quarterback consistently in the last 2 years. I believe he's been top 2.
It's because he runs the ball.
And that is, but look who's on this list.
He's running for his life because his offensive line is going.
And Sean McDermott doesn't use running backs. So I'm just going to tell you right now, majority. So all the guys except, I guess you could say, Joe Burrow is a running quarterback, right?
Actually, you can say Joe Burrow's a running quarterback. Joe Burrow, I think, ran the ball over 60 some odd times last year.
Okay.
And I think it was only like 15 to 20 behind.
So
Josh Allen.
We'll say he has. So, I mean, all the guys.
I don't like saying it, but.
Yeah, and then you obviously Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty. I mean, he has been better every single season. There's no doubt in my mind that he will finish top 3 with that wide receiver core. You added Andre Iosivas along with
Charlie
Jones, who I like Iosivas. You love Charlie Jones. It's going to be a good year.
The reason I like Charlie Jones is because of the position Charlie Jones plays. They don't have that. They need it.
No, and I think Tyler Boyd is going to take a big step back.
Well, I think Tyler Boyd.
Charlie Jones is taking over.
I think Iosivas is stepping in
to take
Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins, and not this year. It's a prep spot. Yes. So when one of those guys wants a contract and needs to move out, that's where they're going to go.
Yeah, because Boyd has always had the opportunity to be the number 1, but he never could. So Joe Burrow, he's not a heavy interception thrower like Josh Allen.
Sorry, there was something on my mic. It was bothering me.
But for how much he throws the ball and how often, that's a very pass-heavy offense with you don't know what's happening with Joe Mixon, another running back we can talk about. I have him at 3 because he's just another guy who has consistently been good and doesn't give me a reason not to put him up there.
Joe Burrow?
Joe Burrow, yeah.
Okay, and then get to Jalen. We already know about Joe Burrow. Let's go.
Jalen Hurts. You said he had 1 good year, but again, you said they gave him weapons. What happens when you give a quarterback weapons? He produces consistently.
That bitch is on fire.
And those other than wide receivers, which Patrick Mahomes doesn't have many, unless you want to include Travis Kelce, wide receiver. Josh Allen, when he got Stephon Diggs, produced.
Hey, Patrick Mahomes has Rashee Rice.
Okay, Joe Burrow, who has T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Tyler Boyd, produced. Jalen Hurts, who now has Slim Reaper and has A.J. Brown, has produced. He's going to consistently
You're going to get
produce.
D-Hop, too.
Yeah. I would love D-Hop on that team. That would be nasty. That team would be,
It would be the LA Lakers or the Miami Heat.
back when they had Irvin Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Nah, like recently when they went out and paid like every All-Star to come play on the team, just
they're
like the
old as-
Miami Heat
they're
with
old as
LeBron
fuck.
James, Dwayne Wade, and that other guy named Bosh that was injured
Chris
all season.
Bosh.
I'm not even a basketball fan, and I know that team. That's how you know they were overpaid.
And then a guy on the list who's going to surprise a lot of people is going to be
Shocker!
Deshaun Watson. But again, you go look at his fantasy stats every single year except for his rookie year when he tore his
Shocker.
ACL. He has been a top 5 quarterback.
Top 2.
And you know who he had at wide receiver? I can't remember his name. Can you remember?
D-Hop.
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 Oh.
D-Hop.
Oh, you mean the D-Hop that's, still out there?
It's not going to happen.
I hope it does. I'd pay into it. I'd give part of my paycheck weekly to see D-Hop come to this team. But,
All right, we'll move on.
So for that reason, my 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is Watson, Hurts, Burrow, Josh Allen,
He doesn't even know their
and
names.
Slim Shady, Patrick Mahomes.
Is he the real Slim Shady? Please stand up. Please stand up. Sorry, guys.
I haven't seen.
All right, here we go. He hasn't seen my top 10 or my top 5. I was going to do a top 10 again just to screw with you, but I was like, this is kind of childish. Stop doing it. All right. So at number 1, Patrick Mahomes, and it's just because he is the new Tom Brady. I can't count him out. Now, granted,
Couldn't
Tom
agree
Brady
more.
didn't play fantasy very well, but Patrick Mahomes does whatever he needs to do to continue to move the ball, and he does it very well. Jalen Hurts is at number 2. Another guy you already explained. Weapons, got that ball.
Consistency.
Goddard healthy all season, hopefully. And then he moves his feet well. And they made it illegal for him to do what he continues to do about pushing the center forward. So now he has to run it again. Some more QB sneaks.
Yeah,
Or
you're
touchdowns,
gonna- yeah,
which that's why I have him up there, is because I have a feeling they're going to lean on him instead of DeAndre Swift in that
That's
red
what
zone
I was
position.
about to say. Thank you.
All right, so Joe Burrow at 3. And the reason Joe Burrow at 3 is because he throws the ball over 600 times this season. So you throw the ball that many times, you're going to have a lot of passing touchdowns, especially with, like you said, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins.
Charlie Jones, Andre
Well, they
Roosevelt,
also got
Tyler
Irv
Boyd.
Smith, too,
Irv Smith,
which
yes.
is a huge weapon
I
in the red
completely
zone
forgot.
if
Oh
he's
my
healthy.
gosh.
The problem is he's as fragile as glass. Sugar glass. He's like a San Francisco 49er. That's where he should be.
Or you could say,
All right.
what's the tight end from the Commanders? Logan Thompson.
Logan Thomas.
Thomas,
right.
yeah.
All right, so 4, Justin Herbert, who was left off your list. And I understand why he's left
And
off
I
your
love
list.
Justin
I know.
Herbert.
I get it. I know why he's left off your list. Now, here's the argument I'm going to give you for Justin Herbert. Joe Burrow 2.0. And that's because of how many weapons he has. And to be honest with you, I don't see him stepping backwards. I see him coming back. I think he had an injury going into the late season last year, and he was struggling throwing the ball.
you
So
added Quentin
I see
Johnson.
him, and he also, that dude put on like 20 pounds of muscle. It's hard to just go out there
He's ripped.
and play the way you were playing 2 years ago, where you went from like 210 to like 240, and then now you're coming in at a healthy weight again, back to where you're comfortable. And hopefully they cleaned up the line a
He
little
did
bit.
have that shoulder injury.
He at the end of the season last year.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I think he takes a step forward. He was a top 10 quarterback last year. I think he now breaks that top 5
I hope
mark.
so, because I have a lot
And this
of
is fantasy
cards
purposes. This is fantasy
that I
purposes.
could use it both.
So at 5, I agree with you. I have a hard time putting Deshaun Watson at 1, 2, or 3, just because of the consistency of the guys before him. Well,
It's-
all but one. Now, here's my argument for Deshaun Watson. I love you
These
too,
lists-
Ryan. These lists are amazing.
Don't be mad
and they
'cause
are more
Lamar isn't
accurate
up
than
there.
your list will ever be, because Lamar Jackson is not a top 5 quarterback. Anyways, I have Deshaun Watson up there just because of all the weapons they have. You got Elijah Moore, you've got Amari Cooper, you still have David Njoku, which Ryan's been trying to sell me forever, and I think David Njoku could be a top 10 tight end this year.
He was a top 10 tight end last year.
Well, I mean, yeah, but it's a huge drop off. 1, 2, 3, and then it. drops when it comes to fantasy. But there's a reason that I think these guys can be where they're at. It's not a fanboy thing. Anybody that knows what Deshaun Watson can do, 80% of Deshaun Watson is still better than all these quarterbacks underneath.
I'm not happy that we traded for Deshaun Watson.
Now, hold on.
So.
I didn't put it in here like an idiot.
What?
All right. So my honorable mentions I was going to put in here, and I actually created the graphic but didn't create the button. Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
Lamar Jackson.
Yes.
Trevor Lawrence.
Yes.
And Derek Carr. Those are my honorable mentions that could be top 5 guys, and it's just because weapons, teams, and what their schedule looks like. These guys could have a very good schedule. Now, the reason Aaron Rodgers is not in my top 5, and he might be in your top 5, possibly, if you think about him, but the reason he's not in my top 5 is because of the simple fact that they're going to play with a lead. He's going to throw less than the other guys, and he's going to run less than the other guys.
Good running backs,
Correct.
Breece Hall and Michael Carter.
Right. So the reason why Derek Carr, I really wanted to put on the fringe at 5 over Deshaun Watson, but I don't know the health of his receivers.
Yeah.
Michael Thomas is always injured and struggles playing a whole season, and he's 30.
But so let's go to your list real quick again, if you want to bring that up. All those, but I would say one team maybe throws the ball a lot and is ahead a lot. I mean, you got Patrick Mahomes, throws the ball, runs the ball. They utilize their running backs.
There's 2 teams that throw a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
everybody else throws and runs.
Yeah, I mean Watson, the Browns. I mean, it depends. They said they're going to pass this year. I don't trust it. Justin Herbert, another the guy, because Austin Eckler is a huge pass threat.
And here's
in the red zone.
Here's my argument with the Deshaun Watson thing. I know everybody's like, fanboy, haha, you're a Cleveland fan. That's not the point. The point is 80% of Deshaun. 80% of Deshaun. It's still better than most of the quarterbacks underneath him. So if we get 80% of what Deshaun was in Houston, which I think we will get at least 80%, he's a top 5 quarterback. 100%. He's a top 5 quarterback.
Yeah.
So that's my argument. And the Trevor Lawrence, I think that it's a step forward when they got weapons. That's another reason that he's an honorable mention.
I want to see how he reacts to those new weapons, though. That's my thing.
Correct. I agree with that. And then the other one was Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers, Trevor Lawrence. There was one more. I don't remember now.
Derek Carr, Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers.
Lamar Jackson, run heavy. Even if Lamar runs 80% of what he did the previous year and he gets 700-800 yards, I think that Lamar Jackson is going to produce as a top 10 quarterback in fantasy.
Yeah, health is always a question with him, and it's nothing.
I don't think in fantasy it's a question because he's healthy 1 through 14. So the problem is if you're going into playoffs with him and he gets injured,
but
that would be my worry. 90% of Lamar is better than most. What? But now when you say something 90% of Lamar is better than most, the question is, Lamar, 90% rushing yards. Yeah, great. I mean, but that doesn't put him at a top 5 quarterback when you're looking at fantasy purposes because he still has to score touchdowns. Is he getting all the touchdowns or are they getting stolen from him? Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, he still has to throw the ball. I don't need a running back as a quarterback. I need a quarterback. I mean, granted, in fantasy, I need a running back as a quarterback. So it's kind of
but
that's a catch-22
in situation.
But no, in fantasy, if you have a 1,300-yard rushing quarterback, I'll take that all day.
Yeah,
the problem is he going to produce on the touchdown side of things every game?
That's the thing. So take out his, and I'm not trying to bash Lamar, and I didn't want to get into this, but with Ryan, we are. So if you take out his MVP season, he doesn't throw for that many touchdowns and yards. It all comes on the other, like we said, the 1,300
Correct.
yards.
His MVP season, he had like 3,600 yards and like 27 touchdowns.
Yeah, but when you throw yourself out there that much,
34 touchdowns.
When you run that much, you're risking injury. Just with like all these guys, but guess what? They have been healthy.
Yeah,
he has not.
But take the team aspect out of it. We're talking fantasy. Like if I'm going into the season, I'm talking a redraft, and I'm going to pick a quarterback. Right? We're talking fantasy.
Yeah, like redraft. Yeah.
Lamar Jackson. If you take him as a top 5 quarterback, I wouldn't be upset because you have the rushing upside. But when you have a guy like Deshaun Watson who also has the rushing upside but also the passing upside, when you have a guy like Justin Herbert, not so much of a rusher, but a huge passer, like that 600 passing attempts. Between Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, you have 600 attempts. You're probably going to put up 30 touchdowns for passing. It's hard to find that many touchdowns from Lamar compared to these other guys when you're a tit for tat. Now, it depends on how you score your stats, right? So, like, if you are in a league where it's 0.1 yards for rushing and it's a quarter of a point for passing yards.
That's how it is in my league.
It depends. It really depends on the situation. Now,
we get bonuses for so many rushing yards.
I haven't brought up any stats to debunk Lamar, bro. Like, I'm not hating on Lamar.
It's just
he's not a top 5 fantasy wise this year for me. That's my top 5.
Yeah, and he's
and if it makes you feel any better,
and
this is JJ's top 5s in the NFL
and
currently playing, and I don't see Lamar in there.
You don't also have
All right.
Josh Allen as top 5, and you said you did not say he was fringe. I didn't say anything. I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, I don't have Josh Allen as top 5. The guys I have now, granted, I am a little skewed, and now that we're in a 6-point touchdown league, it's definitely more skewed for me because passing touchdowns matter just as much as rushing touchdowns, and Joe Burrow is probably going to be 1 or 2 because of the passing touchdowns. So it all depends. You can say he's mid all you want. That doesn't bother me. Like, I don't care about either of them personally.
He's still been in the playoffs more than Lamar Jackson, so I guess that makes Lamar Jackson
Has he been?
a bum. Yeah.
I don't know. Lamar Jackson's only missed 2 years out of 5.
Lamar Jackson's played in three playoff games.
How many is Josh Allen?
I believe 5.
I don't know. I don't know enough about those playoff arguments. So now we're going to move on to tight ends. I'm sure this one will be fun because this one I threw a curveball in the wrench, and I probably need to look a little more into attempts. He's talking about playoff totals, Ryan. Just let it go. It doesn't matter because neither of them have won an AFC championship, so it doesn't matter. Rushing quarterbacks don't win rings. We all know this. So let's get to tight ends. We're going to jump right into Wheels tight ends and see what he's got here. Wheels, what do you have?
So obviously, number 1.
I hope that's the picture, by the way.
Travis Kelce.
For the kid on the bottom. I hope that's his picture because there was like 3 pictures, and he was the dark-skinned guy, not the light-skinned guy, and it was throwing me off.
Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
Yes. So number 1, Travis Kelce. He improved after they lost after they lost Tyreek Hill with Patrick Mahomes, and so did Patrick Mahomes. For that reason, I know he's a little bit older, but you know what? I don't have a reason to doubt him. I don't.
It's the Patrick Mahomes argument.
Yeah, and,
he's Travis Kelce. He's Patrick Mahomes. Like, that's the argument. That's all you got.
Those are the only 2 guys you could use that for. It's no different from the Gronkowski. The Gronkowski-Tom Brady situation where they're both in their primes. I mean, there's no situation for it.
And why are you drafting Drew Brees at 32? It's Drew Brees.
A lot of people are going to say Kittle at 2 is crazy. I know he misses some time, but when he's playing, they utilize him immensely. And I think even with that weird quarterback room that you have this year, I think he's going to produce. I think they're going to change the situation that they use him in a little bit because of the way that Ayuk and Deebo Samuel have come up with the addition of CMC.
Oh, my God. Is that his nickname? Ayuk! Oh, that should be his nickname. I don't have him on my team.
And then 3, you got TJ Hawkinson, who took a very big step forward with the Minnesota Vikings and Kirk Cousins. I know you added who'd they add? Not Quentin Johnston.
Jordan Addison.
Jordan Addison on the opposite side. But I think they're going to utilize him a lot more in the middle of the field where he shines in. If you have watched last year, he's a very good vertical threat, and he's a very... Just
a quick heads up on the George Kittle thing. Cameron Latu was a kid out of Alabama that they drafted. And Cameron Latu is a blocking tight end.
Yes, exactly.
So there's a reason that you have Kittle where you have him is because he's probably going to play more towards the slot. I just want people to understand that Latu's probably coming in more on those blocking purposes, and Kittle is going to go back to the way that he was, getting those attempts, getting the ability to get out, and it's really going to help the short dump offs with CMC because who knows, CMC might be quarterback at the start of the season. I think it's going to help that situation. Go ahead.
So going to Mark Andrews, with the addition of OBJ. What rookie wide receiver did they have? I lost my notes. Didn't save when I wrote it down this morning.
I can't believe I lost his name. Oh my god. Oh, what the heck was his name? You should know this. I should know this.
Zay Flowers. With the addition of Zay Flowers, you also have
Rice too many times.
I know. That's what I was thinking. You have Rashard Bateman, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, and I can't remember. They have another wide receiver.
Oh, Duvernay.
And Devin Duvernay. I don't want to say Mark Andrews is going to get lost because a guy of his stature with how well he produces, he's not. But I think it's going to take some targets away from him.
I don't think so.
He's 4. And
go ahead. Yeah,
it's hard putting him at 4. Go ahead,
finish. It's all right. You put Kyle Pitts at 5. So.
Yeah, 2, 3, and 4. I mean, that's a tie. I mean, it was a tough. Like you said.
And those guys have been consistent. Yeah, those guys just swap spots a lot of the time.
It's very hard. It's not wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks. It's after
ready
you get
for
past
mine.
one. It's very hard to get through.
Yeah, right. So, Ryan, I hope you're still in chat. You're ready for mine.
5, and I really haven't. I don't think this kid has gotten a fair shot because he played 1 year with Matt Ryan. Second year, he didn't have anybody, really throwing him the ball. So I think this year will be Kyle Pitts' year. When his rookie year, he played very well in a competent quarterback offense. And I think even with Desmond Ridder there and
Trey Lance.
No, not Trey Lance.
That was a rumor today, by the way, that Atlanta reached out to San Francisco about trading Trey Lance. That was a rumor today.
I would not hate that.
I think that's absurd.
I wouldn't hate it.
What were you?
Taylor Heineke. I mean, both those guys.
Taylor the Heart Heineke?
Yeah, I think both those guys are more confident.
Hearts in the chat for Taylor.
Than what they had in the past because you had Mariota, and he had a very, very rough season to go. And Kyle Pitts was injured a little bit last year. I think this kid takes a big step forward.
Hearts in the chat for Taylor. Thank you, Ryan. All right. I agree with you.
I think Ryan left.
You think?
I think so.
I think he clicked hearts. I definitely don't think he wants to respond to me. That might have just been my hearts, I'm over-clicking. I mean,
again, it's Kyle Pitts, number 5, Mark Andrews 4, T.J. Hawkinson 3.
I like all your arguments.
George Kittle 2, and Travis Kelce 1. But again, 2 through 4 all those guys are very hard. All those guys are considered.
Are you ready for mine? Because I know there's some guys you forgot of, and you put Kyle Pitts up there.
I know, but let me.
You don't get honorable mentions until I'm done.
I don't get honorable mentions. Oh,
yeah, not till I'm done. Not till I'm done.
The guy who went to Houston. That's
enough. That's enough. All right, so we're gonna get into mine, and it's gonna be rapid fire, just like last time. Because I'm here and not queer, but I'm here to piss wheels off. All right, correct. So somebody is breaking the castle. It's TJ. It's TJ this year. And I think it's the Dalvin Cook targets, the short yardage targets. I don't think Madison gets them.
Okay.
I think it goes to TJ. And that's my reasoning for having Hockenson up there because he's already a touchdown monster. Now he's going to get the short yardage targets.
I love that 100%.
So, I don't think it's the yardage. I think it's the targets. So that's my reasoning for having Hawk over number 2, who's Kels. And the reason I have Kels at 2 is because I think they're going to do their best to get
Rashee Rice.
Well, Rashee Rice and both MVS. Of the I don't care about MVS. Both the Rosses, John Ross and Justin Ross, involved.
Justin, yes.
And then Sky Moore also involved. Kadarius Toney involved. And keep in mind, there are so many people on this roster that are mid that they have to make great.
Yes.
And the only way to make them great is the start of the season, get these guys targets. Okay. And I think at the start of the season, Kelce doesn't get the attention he used to get.
Till time matters, you think?
Yes.
Okay. I can agree with that.
Right.
I like
number 3, a gentleman you forgot about.
Zach Ertz.
So, and I know why you forgot about him. It's because of Kyler Murray not being there.
No, it's because of Call of Duty.
It's another guy that is a check down monster, and he is always where he needs to be. Zach Ertz is a top 5 tight end with a top 5 quarterback.
Yes.
Now, the question is, does he have a top 5 quarterback?
No.
Kyler
Murray is not
that's
a top
good
5
argument.
quarterback.
Now, number 4, Dallas Goedert. Step forward. He missed 6 games last year. Dallas Goedert would have been top 5 tight end last year if he would not have missed 6 games. That's my exact reasoning for that. I don't need much more. Mark Andrews got stuck at 5 because I couldn't drop him out of 5 because he is a target for Lamar Jackson when he gets down And when Lamar can't see anybody else, he's the biggest target on the field. So we all know Lamar can't see over his line because he's too busy running for his life. Even though it's not his line's fault he's running for his life, he just sees ghosts in the pocket. I can't tell you why. I'm not Lamar. Anyways, honorable mentions. Okay? These ones, most people won't understand why. And you might have some honorable mentions. But you might not have these three. Juwan Johnson. Foster Moreau went to the Saints.
Yes.
And Foster Moreau had leukemia. So he was going, or maybe, I don't know, he was going through some cancer treatments. So he had just come back. Now he's just now into a training camp and all that stuff. Now, Juwan Johnson was a top 12 or top 10 tight end at the end of last year, which is a huge stat considering he had Andy Dalton. Derek Carr's there. Derek Carr loves his tight ends. Juwan Johnson is a big target for Derek Carr. And I think Juwan Johnson has the ability to be a top 10 tight end this year. I don't know if he can crack the 5. That's the reason why I have him outside. Chigozie Okonkwo, another tight end. My only issue is I don't have him in my top 5 because they drafted a tight end on that team. And I have a feeling he's going to be splitting touches at the tight end position. If you don't know who Chigozie Okonkwo is, plays for the Tennessee Titans.
We loved him. I remember before I got on the show, we talked a lot about him.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the guy, and there's nobody else there to throw the ball to.
So I have three honorable mentions. One is going to be crazy. I know we talked about
David
him
Njoku was my other honorable mention.
Well, I guess
on that list. But I did talk to him. I did talk about him earlier. I think he can easily be top 10.
Yes.
Where cracking the top 5, he can knock 4 or 5 out. Yeah. Especially if we do go to a high pass in Cleveland, he could.
Yeah. So,
go ahead. Who's your?
I'll do 4 because I agree with the
Njoku.
So it'd be Njoku, Dalton Schultz.
Dalton Schultz in Miami.
No, Dalton Schultz in Houston.
In Houston.
And that's the only thing that brought me down on him. Dallas Goedert. He's definitely up there. Like you have.
Yeah, I am at 4.
And then a crazy one that a lot of people may not see, but again, he throws the ball 600 times. It's gonna be Irv Smith.
So the only issue is the Irv Smith being healthy. It's the health thing. So like Irv Smith 100% could be T.J. Hawkinson.
Yeah.
Like that's who he can be. But will he because of health? And I just don't know if he's capable of saying. Now, I will say the Cincinnati Bengals paid him for 3 years. So they saw something.
They signed him for a reason.
Yeah, and coming off an injury.
Yes.
They saw something. I will not drop the kid. I will not drop him in Dynasty. I can't do it.
The only one I'm not a huge fan of is Zach Ertz, but I completely understand it because, like you said, he is a check down monster. And for the reason, I guess you can throw him in my honorable mentions too, but it's just that the fact that Kyler Murray's probably going to miss at least half the season. And
I don't think it matters.
You're more than likely having Clayton Tune throw the ball because I don't think Colt McCoy is going to. I think Colt McCoy.
You and this Clayton Tune thing is driving me insane. It's like I get it. They said Clayton Tune might have an opportunity at the beginning of the season. I just don't see it. Why would you put a guy out there like now? Maybe you put a guy out there like that because you're out for the season, like you said. It's Caleb next year. Just kidding. I'm not saying
it's true.
You said no. It's not true. It's not true.
It is.
It's not true. They paid a guy. They're sticking with him.
It is true.
Chinese don't want you, then I don't either.
That's for you, Kyler Murray.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. All right. That being said, we're gonna end the show on that note. What do you got? Any takeaways for today, Wheels?
There's only 2 genders.
Okay. I guess so.
Go see Sound of Freedom, please. Please go see Sound of Freedom.
I would agree with that. I would say go see Sound of Freedom if you are a father or a mother. I recommend the movie, and I recommend you share it as much as possible. The movie is probably one of the best movies I've seen in my lifetime after watching it. And then I went and watched Spider-Man after, which kind of disappointed me.
That must have been real abysmal to see that.
It was rough. It was rough. Well, I will say it broke, like there was laughter in Spider-Man, so I went from dead serious and crying in a theater to like laughter.
It's definitely a rough movie.
It's not. It's actually the movie's done so well. Like it builds the emotions. It builds the intensity.
It's too real.
It is real.
That's
based on a true story.
I know, but I'm saying it's
based on a true story.
I'm not. Yeah, it's.
But yeah, I agree. I agree. I definitely watch it. Previews are like 20 minutes long, just to give you a heads up on that. So plan on being in the movie theaters for like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
So, but it's a great movie. It was worth every penny I spent. Granted, I went on cheap movie day, so I didn't spend much.
Not your
But
fault. A bargain.
I will buy movies forward for anybody that wants to go watch that movie. So because it's worth it, and a lot of the money goes right towards the cause, and it goes towards creating movies and doing more stings and stuff like that. So, great movie. That being said, I like that. Leaving it on that note. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Hope you had a wonderful 4th of July. Please like, subscribe. You guys know where the like button is. It's down there. Please hit the like button. Subscribe. Follow us on Discord. Follow us in Facebook, Twitter, at the Deep Threats. And then I think that's kind of where we're at. I will have some more videos posted up
Next Wednesday.
on Rumble. I'm going to try to split up these videos and do them shorter on Rumble for all you guys and get that going. But we should be here next Wednesday at roughly about the same time. We'll double check and see if we're going to have another guest on Wednesday. And if we have that guest, it might be a little bit later, but I would say 6:30. So just hit us up. Check our Twitter. We post when we're going live on Twitter. And I hope you guys have a wonderful week.
Bye.